Hello everyone, this is Debanshu and I am the Android Studies and Facilitator for DSC Kit this year. So we have a special guest with us, that is Nicola Corti, and he's a Android info developer at Spotify and a GDE in Kotlin. So we are quite privileged to have him up here, and he's a great person, and I know him in person also, and he's like pretty good in helping people, and it's pretty nice to have him with us. So yeah, welcome him.
Excited.
You're not. Yeah, I already
Sorry.
know. Yeah. Yeah. So how is it going, Nicola?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Really excited to be here. Really excited to get in touch with people. So also, if you want to connect afterwards, make sure you send me a message. I'll be happy to support.
Yeah, all the links are in the description. You can just connect with him in LinkedIn, or you can connect with him. That's fine. So he will be starting off by giving a brief intro for like what PPT has prepared, and then we will continue the session. Nicola, just take over from now on, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Can you see the slides?
Yeah, it's on screen.
Amazing. So if anything goes bad, just stop me, and I will like fix the screen.
Yeah, it's going good.
Okay. So hi everyone. Well, thank you very much for being here. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of the Android developer roadmap for 2020. So what do you really need to do to become an Android engineer in this year and beyond also? First, a small slide about myself. My name is Nicola Corti. I work as Android infrastructure engineer at Spotify in Stockholm, Sweden. And I'm also a Kotlin Google developer expert. That means that I'm quite good-ish. Like I know my stuff about Kotlin. I do a lot of open source. So if you want to engage with me, make sure you connect with me on GitHub. You can find me at github.com/Cortinico. And also I do a lot of tweet. So if you want to follow over like my blog post, I recently also started a podcast. So make sure you follow me on Twitter at Cortinico. And you can find my blog post and all the learning material on ncorti.com. But let's deep dive inside the Android dev roadmap. So I know a lot of you are students and you might wondering like, what should I learn to become a good Android engineer in 2020? That question, it's really broad and there are a lot of things that you might need to learn. So I want to use this repository. It's called Mobile Roadmap / Android Developer Roadmap. You can find it on GitHub. And today I'm going to walk you through this one. So this repository contains like a huge map of all the things you need to learn, ordered in a certain way, and in a logical way. So first, the thing you will see are the easiest and the fundamental part that you need to learn. And then there are like a lot of extra things. And this ideally should help you to understand what are the crucial part to learn and take the other extra things just for afterwards. So it looks more or less like this. It's an image and it starts with a map. And so now I'm going to walk you through this map and give you my personal suggestion on what you need to learn. The first thing that starts for the Android developer roadmap is the language. And a lot of people actually ask me, should I learn Java or should I learn Kotlin when I want to do an Android app? My answer here is, obviously you should learn Kotlin. That's just because Kotlin, it's becoming the standard de facto of Android development. So if you're learning how to do Android, my suggestion is just learn Kotlin. Don't spend the time to learn Java and also then to learn Kotlin. It's going to be so much pain to learn both. A lot of libraries in the ecosystem right now are also rewritten in Kotlin. So you will find the source code directly in Kotlin. You will obviously have to interact a little bit with Java just because the Android framework underneath it's written in Java. So you will probably have to touch it a bit, but I think you will be fine with Kotlin. So if you're starting today, start with Kotlin. Also, Kotlin will offer you a possibility to ship your code also on native, to port your code to web. So with Kotlin JavaScript, to port your code to iOS with Kotlin multi-platform. So as way, way, way more opportunity than Java as of today. The next thing that you need to learn is your toolbox. So when you are an Android engineer, you will definitely use Android Studio. My suggestion here is spend some time to familiarize with this environment, because it might sound a little bit like overwhelming, like it's full of features and buttons they don't know really what they do. But my personal take on this is the more you learn the environment you use, the better you will be at learning also afterwards. So spend some time trying things in Android Studio and see how they work. Play a little bit with the emulator, play with ADB. Those are fundamental tools that are needed for an Android engineer. Then the next step is we start learning Android, and the first thing that they will introduce you is the Android manifest. So the Android manifest is a file that represents your application against the store. So it tells the store what your application is able to do. Specifically there, you will have to pay attention to permissions. Like, does this app needs to go on internet? Does this app needs to get access to the camera or to the location? This is the fundamental part, because when you will hit the store, you will present your manifest as your like ID card, and the application there will tell what it's able to do. So it's fundamental that you understand this core concept. The next concept is app components. So the building blocks that allows you to create an Android app. And there are several: activity, service, and intent. Those are the three that I will suggest you to take a look. Specifically, activity will allow you to show something on screen, like show us like as UI to the user. That's the first thing you will start to create. Services instead will allow you to run something in the background. So you want to play music or you want to download stuff while the user is not using the app. And then intent is what allows you to interact with the other apps. Like from your Android app, you want to take a photo and you want to ask the user to pick which app to use to take a photo. That's one of the crucial mechanism in the Android system, and you need to know it. And so now you see like the number of things that we have here on screen grows exponentially because we are talking about user interface. So being an Android engineer means basically being a front-end engineer. I mean, not a web engineer, but you are displaying stuff to the user. So you need to know how to do it properly. And there are really a variety of things that you need to tackle a bit, but at least the resource system. So how you display colors and strings to your users. The UI components. How do you display like a button or like a drop-down list? You don't need to learn them all, but you need to understand what are the differences between those concepts. Specifically here, I really recommend to take a little stab at image loaders. Like if your application is dealing with images, you will have to download images from the network and show them. And on this side, tools like Picasso and Glide or Coil can help you. And also Recycler View. The vast majority of Android apps are basically lists of stuff that you scroll, and you need to be able to do those lists efficiently. You don't want your app to be laggy or slow. Users will just run out. So Recycler View is the core component to deliver butter smooth scrolling. So you need to learn it properly. Then Fragments. Fragments, it's another component that allows you to compose UI. So have multiple parts of UI and compose them together. And Layouts. Layouts is, again, another way to compose multiple components together. Specifically, the one I suggest you to take a look are linear layout. So how you to display things one after the other. And constraint layout. Constraint layout, you will use it when you need to place like one image on the top left and another button on the top right. And it allows you to achieve more complex layouts. I know here is a lot of things, but really just take things slowly. You don't need to learn all the thing about resource system. Just take a little bit of it, and then you can reiterate once you get more stronger on Android development. Then, as I said, user interface never ends. There is a lot of things actually to learn. Also about accessibility. I know if you're at the beginning, you might not think about, hey, I don't care about accessibility, but actually that's crucial. Like if you want your app to scale and to reach millions of users, you need to make sure that everyone is able to use it. And a lot of users don't need accessibility support to properly use your app. Then you are showing stuff to the user, but maybe you also want to save data. Like you want to save your user settings, or you want to save the things you downloaded. So you need to have support for storage with files or share preferences, databases. that's another chapter. But as soon as you want to provide a little bit of persistency to your app, you need to provide something like that. Then, well, till now, we saw how you can build a basic app, something really easy, something you will learn at a study jam. But let's say you want to create a business out of your app. You want it to scale. You want to create like a strong app that will not crack as soon as you have millions of users. To do that, you need to make sure that your app is architectured properly. So this is something that I think it's crucial to know early on. But if you're learning Android development, maybe it's not the first thing you want to learn and you don't want to deep dive into this black hole of architecture. But this will allow you to grow your app to millions of users. So the first thing you need to understand is the presentation layer. There are different ways to structure your application using techniques like MVVM, MVP, MVI, MVC, and they will allow you to decompose your application in multiple components that are easy to test in isolation, and they're not entangled. Like we usually say spaghetti code. Like if you don't follow an architecture pattern, you will just put buttons and logic and whatever together, and then when you go to change the app, things will break necessarily. So you need to structure your app in a clean way. Then you might need to think about the dependency injection. Again, that's another thing if your app is getting bigger. Dependency injection means that your app to run needs to get certain components, needs like a network library, a database driver, and a lot of things. And you don't want your app to be blocked by so many dependency, and you want to have a way to handle those dependencies cleanly. And there are libraries like Dagger or Ilt, Coin, whatsoever. There are so many tools in this area. They are really great to learn. But again, that's not for basic development. You don't need it now. Just keep it in the back of your mind. Then if you want to scale your app, you need to test it. You need to make sure that when you do a change, it will not break your app. So you need to spend some time writing tests. And writing tests goes along the way with having a great architecture. If you have a great architecture, it will be easier for you to write tests. And also linters. That's something that I really like. But I understand this is, again, a little bit advanced. Linters allows you to control automatically your code and making sure that everything is fine, like that there are no bugs, that like those tools automatically detect if there are problems within your code. Then you need to learn Gradle, build configuration. I'm not the author of this diagram, but I maybe would have put this a little bit earlier, because Gradle is the tool that allows you to build your app. So you need to know to configure it a little bit. Then that's another big topic, thread handling. So in mobile, a lot of the things you do are parallel and asynchronous. Like you maybe want to download something while the user is opening the picture, and when you open the picture, you want to calculate a filter and also synchronize the news and the messages. Those things are happening in parallel. By default, when you code, things are sequentially. Like you will say, do this and then do that, blah, blah, blah. So to do things in parallel, you need to understand how to run threads. So if you learn Kotlin, the suggestion here is to use Kotlin coroutines. Coroutines are a tool that allows you to achieve these kind of things. And the Android ecosystem in 2020 shifts a lot towards Kotlin coroutines. So my suggestion is take a look at coroutines. They will help you to handle those kind of things. Then network. So you want to download stuff at a certain point. Like maybe your app relies on data that your user provides and never needs to hit the network. But most of the time, the data you need are in internet and you need to download it. So you need to have good libraries and support to interact with HTTP resources. And in this case, I really suggest to take a look at Retrofit. Retrofit is an abstraction library that helps you to make network call in a really elegant way. And you can take a look at Moshi. Moshi is another library that helps you with JSON conversion. So most of the time, the data you receive from the internet is formatted as JSON, and you need to handle that somehow. So then we continue. There is the Android Jetpack. So if you do the study jam, they will introduce a lot on this, but it is far below. So Android Jetpack is an architecture components also are a set of support libraries that Google developed to help you write Android apps. I think they're great for beginning. So maybe this would have been also a little bit higher up in the diagram. But still, you don't necessarily need to use Android Jetpack, because that provides you support. Like, for example, the architecture components helps you with the architecture of your app, but you might decide to write your own architecture. So this is like an help that Google gives you to simplify your writing experience, like your development experience. But you might also decide to not use them. And then there are a lot of things: Google libraries, security sensors, content providers, animations. Oh my God, it's a lot of things, I know. But those are extra things. You don't really need to learn them now. You don't need to know how to handle a sensor. But one thing that I think it's sort of worth to learn is how to reach the store. I believe that if you want to learn Android development, you need to have an Android app on the store. Like, you need to create something that your users would potentially use, and you need to put it on the store. That will help you understand the whole life cycle of an Android app, and will be crucial to also spot all the problems and all the limits that you might face when you go on the store. So now you might think this is a lot, and it is. It's actually a lot of stuff. And you might say, oh no, yeah, that's too much. I don't want to learn these all. Well, what was written here at the bottom that maybe you haven't seen is keep learning. That's a living process. Like, you start small and you do your hello word, and then you add a button, and then you add an input field, and then you add a fragment, and then you start creating complex layouts, and then you do network calls, and then you realize that your code is so messy, so you need an architecture. So don't try to learn this all at once, but rather try to make small steps and try to follow those roadmaps or suggestions from experts. That being said, I wanted to leave a lot of space for Q&A. So now we're gonna have like a session of AMA. So feel free to ask me anything on YouTube in the chat. We're gonna pick those, and I will try to answer whatever is possible. And yeah, one final word. I want to say good luck and thanks for following. You can find me on Twitter as Corti Nico again. And don't give up on your Android career. I think you're going to be awesome. And don't be shy to reach out to others to ask for help. Like, ping me, ping others, ask suggestions, ask mentoring, ask questions. People are more than happy to support you. That's all. Now I think we can move to the AMA.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. That was pretty nice, and like, he's a pretty nice person in personal. Like I encouraged by him because of contributing to open source, and he was pretty nice in helping me out in every part is required. So thanks to him, I'm like trying to contribute to open source nowadays. So okay, so we have prepared a list of questions. Just by the time people are having their questions prepared, we have a set of questions prepared for you. Okay, so most of the people have this kind of a doubt that they know about Java from like pretty small age. Like, we start learning Java from 9, 10, and high school also. So it becomes like tough for them to switch to Kotlin and then start Android development. They feel it easy to use Java as the programming language for Android development. So what are your views on this?
Okay, so I can tell you my experience. I learned Java when I was 20, I think, or 19. And I learned it at university, the second year of my bachelor degree. I actually learned other languages. They are way worse, like Visual Basic, and I would not recommend also. And those were the languages I learned when I was in school. So I understand that maybe now in school, the languages they teach might be shift, and that's totally fine, actually. I find it hard to understand that if you are developing Java since a lot of years, you have problem to switch over to Kotlin, because going from Java to Kotlin is a really natural jump. Like, it's not that complicated. Like, also Java and Kotlin interoperate pretty well, so you will not have major problems on this front, I would say. I will take a stab on Kotlin. As I already said before, I think you have way better opportunity to even get a career with Kotlin. Like a lot of companies also nowadays are hiring specifically developers that know how to code Kotlin. So don't miss this opportunity.
Yeah. So, what is the curve of Kotlin? Because like many people feel that Kotlin may be a bit tough to like grab at first. Like I guess this is a question that was quite relatable from that part, because he doesn't know about coding, and will it be easy for him to grab Kotlin from basics?
So the question actually is, will someone who doesn't know a lot about coding be able to understand Kotlin from the basics? I would say yes. So, I mean, if you don't know coding at all, like if you don't know what a for loop is, if you don't know what an if then else is, that might be hard. But that will be hard for every language. So you need to take a stab on one language. JetBrains is pushing a lot towards education with Kotlin. So I think that Kotlin is actually a great tool to like learn how to code if you don't know it with any language. There are a lot of material on this front, and Kotlin is really also natural to read. It doesn't contain weird structures or operators that you don't really understand what they're doing. I sometimes have the feeling that Kotlin, you could basically read it and it feels like English natural language. Like you can read what the code is doing. And this is something that you can't do with Java. Like sometimes with Java, you have like anonymous in your classes or craziness that you don't really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So Kotlin is way, way less verbose than Java. So it's also more pleasurable to read and to work with it.
Yeah, the documentation is really cool for Kotlin. Like it's like really helpful in understanding the purposes from the basic to quite a good amount of thing is already available in the documentation. So here's one more question from Arpit. uh, Kotlin is fairly new language, so the community is quite small to Java. So should we wait before like Java is discarded?
So again, maybe I'm biased in this, and I will keep on saying go for Kotlin. I would say that yeah, the community is not as big. That's true. Like Java has been here for I don't know tens of years, so obviously has a bigger community, more developers that know how to code Java. But the Kotlin community is also pretty strong. I will invite you to join the Kotlin Lang Slack. It's full of people, really, and there are a lot of amazing people in the community that are more than happy to support you. And also, having a bit smaller community means a lot of opportunity. For example, I'm one of the maintainer for Detect. Detect is a static analyzer tool. And we came up with this tool because there was nothing like that in Kotlin. So this means that a lot of the tools that are available for Java, they probably still work for Kotlin, but they might need to be adapted. And this is the place where open source could basically take a lot of power, because you can just like create tools and get a lot of traction in the community just because the tool was missing, and there are plenty of tools that are missing and they need to be ported. So I think the coding community is really strong, and there are opportunities there. So I would not miss it. I would not wait more. Maybe this would have been valid like 3 or 4 years ago, but not now. Now it's definitely the time to embrace Kotlin.
Okay. Yeah, that's a perfect answer, I will say, because Kotlin is like it's growing really fast. Like JetBrains is really pushing it hard. So the next question that I will ask you regarding what you can say, is there any career, like basically people think that Android development as a project base or for college projects, but they don't see it as a career. So what do you feel like, is it a career based thing? How can you shift your from a project based platform to a more production level, or a for a more company level view, like for a placement perspective, what you can see in that case?
So are you saying that people don't see a career future with Kotlin, right?
Yeah, basically Android development, they feel like it's more of a like project based thing. You do for the final year project and it's done.
Yeah.
uh,
So I understand. I would say that still, what I mentioned briefly before, Kotlin opens you a lot of doors that just pure Android doesn't. So maybe right now, if you go on LinkedIn, you will find only like you will not find Kotlin software developer as a job. You will find Android, and in the requirements, they will ask you to have Kotlin maybe. But if you learn Kotlin, tomorrow you will be able to work with backend services. Like there are a lot of backend frameworks that are written in Kotlin. Tomorrow you will be able to write native code. Like if you need to ship to, I don't know, embedded systems, you will be able to ship your code to iOS. You will be able to ship your code to web. And you will be able to do data science with your code. That is also really great. So those are all things that in Java you could do to some extent, but it's not as neat and clean as Kotlin. So my suggestion is that Kotlin is still anyway a tool that allows you to open a lot of doors. So you might not see that as an immediate career opportunity. So the immediate career opportunity is I want to become an Android engineer because there are a lot of jobs in the Android market right now. And you might see like, yeah, I learned Kotlin and this is like, it's a nice to have. Yeah, it's a nice to have, but it will open you doors in the future. So don't miss it. I will put it pretty high in the nice to have list. And you will probably face companies that requires you to have Kotlin. So it doesn't, like, it's not more a nice to have, it's a requirement at a certain point.
Okay, so here's one more question from Naman. Is like he learns Flutter, like he using development using Flutter. So why should he shift to Kotlin or Java for Android development?
Okay, that's an amazing question because I get asked a lot of times, what about Kotlin versus Flutter? So that's just to clarify, Flutter is a framework and Kotlin is a programming language. It's like if you ask me, hey, should I learn JavaScript or should I learn like, I don't know, Python or should I learn React? And I tell you, you are comparing two things that are not comparable to each other. So the question should be, should I learn Flutter or should I learn native app development? Or should I learn Dart or should I learn Kotlin? That's the two things that you compare. So I think that the question, the underlying question is actually, how about Flutter against native app development? So, I mean, again, I'm biased. I would say learn native, go Kotlin. The thing is that Kotlin nowadays also is pushing a lot on multi-platform support, Kotlin multi-platform. So that means that you can write your code and you can ship your code also to iOS, to desktop, to web. So you will have this sort of code base that is shared across all the platforms, and this is amazing. That's basically what is sort of doing right now Flutter. My recommendation here is this: if you have to do a smaller project, and if you want to prototype, like you want to see immediately how a potential prototype for a product will look like, you want to develop an app in short time, Flutter is great. Because Flutter gives you like auto reload and a lot of UI driven features. Like you can immediately see how the app looks like, and you can immediately ship it to iOS. Also, sharing the UI between the two platforms is pretty easy. Basically, you don't really need to do much. But in the long run, that could be hard to maintain. And also, there the community it's really small. It's not the Kotlin community. Like that is even smaller than Kotlin.
Yeah,
If
there are
you
doubts.
Yeah, and if you have like if you plan to start a startup, like if you have a business and if you want to go big, like if you want to maintain your app for a lot of time, then you need to do it with Kotlin multi-platform. Like you need to do it with Kotlin. That will allows you, like you have way more tools available to you to develop Android if you use native, like the Kotlin native Android development. So think about it.
Okay, that was a really convincing answer for using Kotlin. Okay, so here's like a question quite personal to you. Uh, how is the journey as an experienced developer?
That's another amazing question, Kirit. Thanks for asking. So I I gave my first talk, I think when I was like 16 or so. And it was like a local Linux user group, like in my own town. I'm from Pisa, Italy. And we, at that time, I think Android was not even a thing. Or maybe it was a thing and it was like, I don't know, still in development. So mobile phones were not very much used. People use like Blackberries or Nokia phones. So you used to develop app for desktop. And I was a pretty avid Linux user. Like I was trying to onboard on Linux, and I was using that for my daily life. Also, I was coding simple apps with GTK. I don't know if you know this graphics library, but it's amazing. So I got in touch with this Linux user group, and we started doing events like weekly meetups. So every week we met like at a place, and I was doing seminars and pretty stupid stuff like how I installed Ubuntu on my Windows machine, or I don't know how to use this programming language and how to start using C, what you need to do. So that's basically how I started. And from there, I realized that I really enjoy getting in touch with other developers and learning and sharing. I think that's the most important part, because learning is one thing. Like you can sit on a table and read a book for an entire day and learn how to do Android, and wow, it's amazing. But learning is not a thing if you don't share it. Like the most important part is also sharing with others, because it's when you are with others that you get the best and most brilliant ideas. Like maybe you have one little project in your mind and you share it with another developer, and they tell you, hey, no, you should maybe do this or that. That's amazing. That's the real power of developer community. And I love open source. So I've engaged with a lot of projects just because I was a user and I thought like, hey, this tool is amazing. I would love to contribute. So I went on GitHub and I started reading the code. And then I realized, oh, this might be a bug, or there is a missing feature, and so on and so on. And then I ended up managing libraries, like becoming the maintainer or authoring new libraries. I mean, for me, this is just amazing. It's what drives me forward, and it what like wakes me up. But I know that this is not a thing for everyone. A lot of people just don't care. Like I mean, they're fine with their job, and they don't want to connect with the developer community as a whole. And I think there is a lot to learn out of the developer community if you want to embrace it. So really, take inspiration from others that are doing the same. And when you share something, you're never wrong. Like, you know, we're not at DroidCon or other major conferences where if you say crap, people might say like, hey, what are you saying? Like if you're at a meetup and you come here and like now you do this study jam, and then in some weeks you go back to a GDG or a DSC and you do a talk about how I learn Android from scratch. That's amazing. There might be people that want to learn Android as well. So really take the opportunity, do a first step and share with the rest of the community. The other will come automatically out of it.
Yeah. So you mentioned about open sourcing. So what do you feel like open sourcing is important for a developer's perspective? Like why should he contribute to open source projects and all the things?
Yeah, so when I was at the university, I remember one of my, let's say, mentor or one of my teacher mentioned the best CV you can have is your GitHub profile. Okay. That's it. That can land you a job, because you know that's real work. Like that's where people see what you did. So I think I started like that. I thought like, hey, you know what? I really need to do a little bit of open source. I need to have some projects in my profile. I need to work on something like that. Then, and I'll be honest, I had bad experiences in open source. I had projects where I tried to onboard and contribute, and I was not welcomed maybe, or they were super like strict and they didn't welcome like external people participating. And that's normal. That's how open source is sometimes. But then I jumped over on other projects like Detect, just to mention again the same tool. But still, that was cool, and they were super welcoming. They were looking for people, so I just became one of the maintainer by doing. And this is what in the Debian community. Debian is a Linux distribution. If you don't know it, it's called duocracy. Like if you do, you get the power to decide. So really, open source is like that. The more you do, the more you are important in the community. And it's really a place where if you do work, if you do great work, you will get rewarded. And if you do crap, like if you do things that are like just to gather stars, you will not get them. So I really like how fair the open source environment is, and I really invite everyone to participate. It will give you a boost in your career, and also will teach you how to do stuff, like how to do Android apps. If you get on an Android project, you might be able to do Android professionally if you do like one Android open source project properly.
Yeah, that is pretty convincing for someone to start open sourcing, I guess. Okay, there is one more question from Harsh. Like there's always this people stuck in the loop of taking courses after courses and never actually building the things. So how to get like big through this thing?
Yes, so that's a pain. I can understand because the learning material is sometimes a lot and it's hard to pick the correct one. To give you a technique to learn Android properly, I would say get one coding challenge and do it. So with coding challenge, I mean, when you interview for a certain company, I will not mention the name, but you will find it on GitHub. If you go on GitHub and search Android coding challenge, you will find a lot of them. There are companies that when they hire you, they send you a coding challenge. And the coding challenge is is like a PDF. And in this PDF, they tells you like, hey, you need to develop an Android app that is displaying like this list of, I don't know, orders or items, and you need to be able to put them in a cart, and you need to be able to do this network call to process this order, and they give you the endpoint that you can call. So if you do something like that, like if you find a coding challenge and you fully complete it, basically you will develop a simple Android app that allows you to connect with the network, have a little bit of architecture, have tests, have all the things that are requested in the coding challenge. And that's the baseline to be able to develop Android app. I know you might not know all the things. So you will need to learn every little pieces, like how to do a network call, how to write tests. But at least you are sort of result driven. Like you have a goal to achieve, and the goal is to finish this coding challenge. So really go on GitHub, search for Android coding challenges. There are a lot of them. Most of the time, they also upload the text of the coding challenge. So I think that's a great way to learn how to do Android apps.
Yeah. So here's a personal question from my side. Like there is some trend, like there is trend of like ML, AI, and all this thing. So why should I choose Android development over them, which is like quite trending? Like every other person is doing ML, data science, all these things.
Because Android is better. What a question. No, I'm joking. Well, again, that's another really complicated thing to compare. Like you are comparing two things that are like even they are not even comparable, I would say. One is a discipline, and another is basically a framework because Android is a framework. It depends on you. Like if you like machine learning, if you like data and processing data and doing insights on them, then you might prefer doing ML. But if you want to, I don't know, for example, in my case, I really like the idea of being able to ship code that goes in the pocket of billions of users. And I focused on Android to achieve this. I could have achieved that also with ML, but ML would have meant like I create the model that processes the data that offers a response to the users that blah 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 blah. While instead, in my case, I write the code that is in your pocket. Like it's there. Like we could get APK, and that's the code I wrote. While ML, it's a little bit more abstract in the way that most of the time it also relies, like it also lives in the backend. But again, it's extremely interesting. There is a lot to learn also in ML. I would also suggest that you spend a little bit of time on understanding what machine learning really is and how it works, because you will use it. I got the opportunity, luckily, to study at university, so I have my baseline of machine learning. But yeah, it's really, at the end of the day, it depends on personal taste. Like if you like ML, go on that. If you like Android, go on that. You will find a job in both cases, I would say.
Okay. So what can I say? Like most people sometimes prefer doing competitive coding because they feel like it is giving them a job opportunity, which in turn, if you are doing development from development perspective, they feel like maybe I'll be stuck in the interview round or something in the coding challenge. So there is this thing like development versus competitive coding. What are your views on that in that case?
So in my case, that depends really on the type of company that you target. So if you want to enter in the so-called FANG companies, so like higher hand companies, then you might need to do some algorithm. Like you might need to know how to reverse a binary tree, and that you do it with competitive coding, with a lot of lead code and tools like that. If you do Android development, that will not help you. I'll be honest. So learning how to, I don't know, place buttons on screens and also all the internals of the Android SDK will not help you in that cases. Luckily, there are companies that are hiring. They are pretty high in the scale of size of companies that are asking you Android specific questions. So in that case, you need to know the Android internals. Like you need to know what's the difference between a service and an activity, for example. So it really depends on what you want to do. If you like competitive coding, I will suggest you to keep on doing that, because that's a skill that it's harder to acquire and it takes practice. Android development instead, it's something that you can also learn during your daily work once you land a job. But again, if you don't care about entering at the top tier companies, probably you don't really need to do so much competitive coding. So yeah, that's my take on this.
Okay. So there is one more thing, like most people like work on the front end of Android development. They have this tendency not avoiding the back end services and the things that you basically connecting with databases, maintaining caching. This feels like a bit the thing that is quite tough to do for someone who is starting off Android development. So if I want to apply for a job, will it be required to have a good knowledge in like service side of the programming? This
So that's sort of a broad question, and there is no exact answer. My answer here is it depends on your seniority. Like if you're applying for a junior position, like if you're really junior and it's your first job, definitely you will just need only Android. Like you will just need only the discipline you're applying for. They will not ask you so much about other things. If you are more senior, they will definitely going to probably ask a little bit of backend, a little bit of web. Do you know how these certain things work, and so on. Also, think about that. I said that Android is basically a front end. It's actually more like also a full stack. Like again, you need to know a little bit of databases. Like Android offers you the possibility to have a database, so you need to know how to run a query there. You need to know how to do network calls. Like how do you get the data from the web? So you need to know how the HTTP protocol works from the client point of view. So really, don't silo your learning only on the front end, like only on how to make UI, because then you will lose a bit on the other parts of the Android SDK and the Android ecosystem as a whole. So yeah, I hope this answers your question.
Yeah. So okay, so we had this doubt because Flutter is quite new and the community may be small. But maybe why shouldn't I try React Native instead? Like Arpit has asked this question regarding React Native or native Android development. So both are quite strong competitors in that case, I guess.
Yeah, that's it goes similarly to what we said before. It depends on if you want your app to scale more. Like there are a lot of articles right now on Medium of companies that ditched React Native because it was unmaintainable. Also, one problem of React Native is that when Android versions like bumps, when there is a new version for Android, all the React Native toolchain needs to be updated as well, and that takes days. So you're not able to ship in time the new feature to your users. And the UI will look a little bit different. Maybe like on iOS, they change the look and feel of the buttons. And if your app is done with React Native, it will still look like old iOS that is a bit. So yeah, there are like a variety of problems like this one that might make React Native not the best candidate for you. On the other hand, if there is like a strong culture of using React in your company. Maybe using React Native for some parts even of mobile might be the way and might be valuable. So it really depends case by case. There is no real general answer. If you want my personal answer, I would say take a stab at Android native development. Because at the end of the day, like even if you do React Native, you will end up touching a little bit of the underlying layer. There is the Android native. So you will need to know how that works to be able to ship a good React Native app also.
Okay. I guess any more questions? React Native cross platform. Yeah, I guess that's the most of the question we have covered almost. Uh, so yeah, I guess what are your feelings like? Just last question I want to ask personally, like what are your feelings as a developer to like advice you can say for someone who is like just graduating from your college or somewhere. So what are your advice to someone like that?
So my suggestion is, yeah, so this sounds easy to say, but it's a bit complicated, is try to get an internship. I know it's crazy hard, like getting an internship, specifically this year, it's crazy complicated. Like this year, the market is so saturated on the lower end. So junior jobs, new grad jobs, and interns are overloaded of applicants. So it will be hard to land a job there. I mean, harder. Although in IT is easier to get a job than in other fields, luckily, but still it might be harder. So try as much as possible to get an internship. And also don't be afraid of rejection. You will get there. You will get them. I also got a lot of them. That's how this works. So you need to be like, you need to get used to failure. And I think also the most important advice that I will give, like on the personal front, is don't be afraid to ask for help, to ask for support, because developers tend to have this attitude of having a super strong ego, and they don't want to ask for help to others because they feel that if I ask for help, I am weak. Like I am not an expert. I personally ask for help at others. I'm a GDE, but there are things that I don't know. Like I'm mostly focused on certain parts of Kotlin, but not everything. So I'm the first one that pings people and asks, like, hey, how do you do this? Can you help me on this way? So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's crucial. It will help you towards your entire career at university, at when you do your first job, when you become a manager, whatsoever. So you will definitely need help from others.
Yeah, that's the real like advice that you can give to someone. Yeah, thank you for that great advice. So I guess that's the end for our conversation with Nicola. I guess we are up with all the questions that we can cover. uh, Thank you for joining us, Nicola.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be catching up later. Okay, so
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here, really. Like, you have my contact. It's Cortinico on GitHub, on Twitter. Also, my email is public on GitHub. So if you find me on GitHub, you can write me there. I'll be happy to help you if you have anything.
yeah,
If you have further
so
questions, also just
yeah,
email them.
all the links are in the description. You can just connect with him anytime soon. So thank you, Nicola. Yeah. So bye. Okay. So so that was the part where you can like communicate with your expert. So now coming up to the next thing that I want to show you how we'll be proceeding with this event from now on. Uh, just let me share my screen. I guess my screen is visible, right? So how are we proceeding with this, right? Let's run this one. Yeah, so that's basically me. Okay. So why the study jam? So study jam is basically how like DACs help people who want to start during like their Android development journey. So the DACs help them by giving them a pathway to follow during this 1 month span of time. Okay, so what you will be learning in this, like you don't require anything, like you just require a laptop, a computer, or just an internet connection, and it's good to go. Okay, so what we'll be learning and what our goals. So we'll be starting from like real basics. We'll be starting from basic Kotlin, where the videos will be there for like some basic Kotlin to architecture components. Yeah, we can't cover all that thing like in 1 month, but I would like to give you a brief about all the things that you require. Okay. Besides that, what are our goals? I want to give like bring you guys from pretty basic to an intermediate level. Like you know all the things and you can implement you yourself according to that. Besides that. What is the process? So yeah, you can just go to this link that is up here. This will lead to a page, which is this one. This is the Android Study Jam official page. Okay, so you have two tracks to choose from. The first is the new to programming track and the prior knowledge in programming. So the new to programming basically focuses on you don't have any knowledge in Android development, and it starts from real basics to give you a brief overview how to start with Android development. Besides that, if you have some prior knowledge in Android development, like you have built some basic apps and want to upgrade yourself, so you can just go for the prior to programming experience in this. So both the things are really cool. So there will be steps, there will be units, there will be 1 unit or 2 units, and each unit has a set of uh, you can say badges or some set of uh, you can say topics to cover, and each topic will help you to earn a badge. Like this badge you can see up here, so it's for basics and all the badges. And these badges will be okay, and the course, so the course will be a pathway you can follow. Like it will be a set of videos, it will be a set of collabs and all the things that you require. Okay, and ending off with a quiz. Like there will be at the end of every step there will be a quiz which will be verifying your how capable are you to do. And you can like try it every time, like you can try it anytime, you can repeat it. If you fail, no issue on that. Besides that, when you complete the quiz, you will be earning a badge. This badge will in turn be added to your developer profile. Okay, so uh, so how DSC Kit is going to help you with this. So DSC Kit server, Discord server have a channel that is ASG group. It will be available 24/7. Like the people are there to always help you out. Besides that, there are free resources that we have collected, and it is in the Android Study Jam GitHub repo. The repo is still private. We'll be publishing it by tomorrow. Besides that, for regular doubt clearing sessions, like I and many other developers will be available on the voice channel to help you guys out in case you have any doubts that can't be solved in text. Okay, let before the perks, let me show you something. Uh, this is a website. Okay, so you can see the two tracks. Okay, you can take either of them. Besides that, this is the developer profile. Okay, all of you have a developer profile. If you don't, you can just create a developer profile and see. I completed this track and I got the badge. Okay, so there are many badges you can acquire, and I guess that's pretty cool. Besides that, what are the perks? I will say just a second. Let's try it out again. So yeah, the perks. So after completion of track 2, yeah, sorry, we can't give certificates for track 1, but yeah, after completion of track 2, we'll be providing certificates of completion. Besides that, after everything, you will be getting us badges, and that will be showcased on your developer profile. Will be like after this course, that is from 1 month, for this 1 month, after that 1 month you will be asked to submit Android app. Like if you have made an Android app that like you feel like it's good, you can try it out, you can showcase your work. So we'll be like giving you a drive link, you upload your app there, and we'll be selecting from them. You upload your APK and a screenshot, a few screenshot will be enough. So the top 5 apps will be showcased on DSC Kit's handle. Besides that, the top app that we feel like to compete with the all India level, so we'll be sending that top one app to from DSC Kit. As a perspective of DSC Kit, we'll be sending that app to Android, and if they feel like they will recognize you, they will recognize you, because there are almost 235 colleges that are participating in this challenge thing. Yeah, like it's quite a big thing to get featured on the Google handle. So I guess that's a big perk. Besides that, we at Kit are planning to give you some perks, but it can't be confirmed from now. And yeah, we'll be confirming it soon. Yeah, you can share your all the things that you have learned using this hashtag, and it has quite a good amount of reach. We'll be providing resources. Yeah, this is the resource, some resources that you can follow for now. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll be uploading regular videos from after every 2 days. Okay, for 2 days gap of time, we'll be uploading videos, and this video will be on YouTube. You can just like start from any time. Okay. Okay, you can start anytime and complete the course. We'll be doing this course simultaneously. If you have any doubts, you can always reach out to the Discord server. I guess that's it. If you guys have any doubts, you can. Okay, so yeah, cool to getting featured on. Yeah, that's really cool. We need coins. No, you don't need coins. It's totally free. You can try it as much amount of time you want. Okay, prior to knowledge programming in Java, no, the whole thing is in Kotlin. So even the app that you submit, that should be in Kotlin. Okay, it should be in Kotlin and it should be native. Okay, you and we guys want you guys to feature on the Google page. So we'll be pretty happy to share your app with them. Okay, so yeah, and the Discord is always available for you guys to ask doubts and clarify them. We have assigned people to clear your doubts. We'll be always active up there. Besides that, if you have any doubts, you can ask in the chat. I guess you have all the doubts cleared. Yeah, and on an ending note, we'll be having open hackathon that will be solely on Android development. Okay, it will be focusing on Android development. The hackathon will be focusing on Android development, and this hackathon will be open. Like you can like connect with different colleges. You can connect with different friends that you have in different colleges. You can form a team, and you can participate in this event. Yeah, the projects that you are going to build, it is on the link. Yeah, this one. Okay, you can just go to the collab. You can see that what are the things that you will be building. Okay, so just a second, let it load for a while. Okay, so if you want to explore it, there are many projects that you are going to build. These are the basic ones. So in the advanced one, like the track 2, which is the prior knowledge, you will building real apps. Like you will be covering topics such as the live data, mvvm architecture, jetpack compose. Yeah, see, I like logged in with that, so I got a badge. Okay, so I have the badge, never mind. So yeah, so we're covering topics like view model, live data, recycler view, then root day library, work manager. So I guess like we can't give the whole description, like the whole thing in 1 month, but I would like to cover most of the topics that you will be requiring for a good knowledge in Android development. So yeah, so we'll be pretty happy to have you guys on board. The video will be up from tomorrow onwards. It will First video is on Kotlin. It gives you all the basic idea that you require for having a good knowledge in Kotlin. We'll be pretty happy to have you guys on board. I guess if you haven't registered, there's a link in the description. You can register to it. You can do it with any ID, Manish. You can try it with any ID. Okay, if you have any doubts, if you have any doubts, you can just connect with us on the Discord server. There's a channel, as I mentioned previously. I guess the presentation link is already shared with you guys. So just join that. You can get the links there also. So we'll be pretty happy to have you guys on board from the AC side. So thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.